So getting into volume 14 of So I'm a Spider, So What, and this is where things really heat up. And there's a lot of backstory. I mean, there's so much exposition dumping, so much backstory going on, especially with the sort of the main enemy of Podamus, which of course is not White itself, but a certain other individual spider that you go through her backstory and you really understand the situation that she's in. There's still some pieces of the puzzle that haven't been completely delved into and everything, but you also learn about individual gods as well and a certain dragon, and that's where I feel like you understand why D is the way they are. Like, D is just very powerful. Like, they're mysterious in so many ways, and I don't expect that the light novel series will explain very much about D, and I actually kind of prefer that because I like the mystery behind D, of them just being some weird god that's just, you know nothing about them. You don't know their origins. They're just someone that just likes to just play around, find amusement, and that kind of stuff. And that's as far as it goes. But you have the certain other individual god that is much weaker, and you understand where his origins are, how he was a dragon, how he went to D to try and get help to fix the world because of the whole Ma energy situation. So the basic premise of a lot of the backstory in this volume is that humans, dragons, and other races kind of like all interact with each other, and demons now are just the byproduct of humans that used Ma energy and refused it, and that's kind of where things go from there. But you have Podamus, who has been around for a really long time, and he's looking for immortality on every layer, and he does kind of find immortality, but there's a difference between just living really long and living forever, but also having the issues of it weighing down on your soul, all the skills, all the abilities, and just it's like a weight system. The stronger you get, the more it weighs you down. So it's like a kind of like a positive negative. Sure, you're really strong and you can defeat anyone and do all these crazy things, but it weighs your soul down and kind of creates more issues as you're becoming stronger. And White has kind of overcome some of those hurdles and issues, some, but not all of them. Like, there's still a lot of issues of weighing down the soul and everything, and that's where Podamus is very angry at White, because Podamus wanted to achieve all these things, and White has achieved more than what Podamus could in such a short period, and he's spent his whole life. And it's kind of interesting because he's spent his whole life trying to avoid death, and then he ends up dying in the most, like, kind of horrible way possible, where abyss magic is used on him by his adversary, a certain little young lolly little spider who wanted to finally get that revenge for what he has done to Serial, the angel, which is the individual that's locked up, that is the voice of the system and everything, is the kind of the heart of the foundation of it. And that is because she is an angel, like a protector of the human race, and that was kind of used as a way to kind of create like a foundational system of Ma energy going in, out, and kind of recycling and using the humans to kind of fuel the system. But there's another issue as well, is that the more times they get reincarnated, the more damage it does to their souls as well. And so it's a system built to fail in the long term. Like, it's never going to be a long-term solution. And D knows that. D did all of this for their own amusement, and that's what I mean about, like, D just kind of having this whole endgame goal of just amusement. And that's why I think D did what they did in the end, where they brought in all these reincarnations to try and just spice it up. But they don't really, I don't think they care about the endgame. I think they're definitely going to interfere as White gets closer to changing everything up. But I think D itself, I don't think, cares about the outcome. They just want to make something amusing for themselves, so they will interfere to a point to add amusement, but not stop them in the grand scheme of things. Like, if they achieve and go over all these hurdles, that's where I think they'll just allow it and be like, yep, yeah, cool, that was great amusement, ha ha ha, clap clap clap, and move on. But I also do think White, even though they are technically a god now, they are nowhere near strong enough to take on D. D is just on a whole different playing field. And I mean, at the end of the day, D's the one that made this whole system. So they'd have to be really strong to be able to make a system like this where others can reach a sort of lower tier godhood. Like, I kind of refer it to like the lower tier and the upper tier, and D is just in that higher tier. And then you got the galley guy, which I mentioned before, which is the dragon. He had feelings for the angel that's now used as the system, and so that's where you kind of understand that clearly he's going to be the final boss. Like, as much as Potamus dies in this volume, there's still 2 volumes to go. You know that there's something else at play. I feel like D will be kind of like a boss in itself, but they won't die or be defeated in the sense of them not existing anymore. But I feel like or the dragon fella, he is going to be the big final boss, because I think he's going to try and fulfill Serial's, the angel's wishes, where she wanted to protect humanity, and he's going to fulfill that and try and continue to keep humanity safe. Most of the dragons also left as well. There's some dragons left behind, but most of them did leave, and they took a boatload of Ma energy and just bolted for it, which you can't blame them. They did give a warning, and Potamus was the one that kind of pushed the whole Ma energy. But this is the thing. Potamus had this whole backup plan where he was just he made a spaceship and he was ready to go to outer space and leave. And I mean, that's what crazy. It's got some space travel in it. So there's so many crazy things in this volume, and it all just makes sense. Like, if someone explained this to me in volume 1, I would honestly say this makes no sense, this is stupid. But as you see the story play out, it all just makes sense, and it's all so well crafted and intertwined together so well. But like I said, if you explained it at the very beginning of the story, yeah, it's about a spider reincarnated into an alternative world, and it does all this crazy stuff, becomes a god, tries to defeat another god, and tries to destroy a system that's basically gamified by a evil twisted another god, and there's this guy that turned himself into an elf and wants to go into a spaceship to run away because he screwed everything up, because all he cares about is trying to empower himself. And all the elves are killed except the teacher by White, because they're all just kind of offsprings of Potamus, which explains why they're so arrogant and self-absorbed and narcissistic, because yeah, they kind of follow in his roots. So my god, is there a lot of emotional things to unpack in this, and especially with the fact that technically the young lolly spider herself is technically, she refers to Potamus as father, because he is the one that technically created them, because they're chimeras. They're just like hybrids of different creatures all mustered together, and they all just ran into these problems, and that's where they had this sort of like found this organization. And so the past of the human race and all the other race, or the dragons and all that kind of stuff going on, is, and this is the thing, it's one of those where it's like, it's much more technically advanced. There's clearly some like interesting kind of, I would love to see it in an anime format of like how they envision the technological advancements. Like, I kind of almost feel like it'd be like a little bit steampunky. I don't know, maybe, but it could also be super futuristic, because it kind of goes on about medicine and all that kind of stuff. But it also talks about how there's energy crisis and they need more energy resources because they're running out, or there's certain limitations. It kind of reminds me of the real world, of how like we have like energy, but a lot of countries rely on other countries for their natural resources for energy, like oil, uranium. But now you've got other things like solar and wind and all these other types of things, and then you've got sort of natural ones like dams and all those kind of things. Like, there's all these different energy sources, and they're all kind of like needing it, and Ma energy is just this like holy grail of like, oh well, we can just tap into this and use it however we want. But it came at a consequence, and that is, it destroyed the planet and just made it unstable, and almost destroyed it, until of course they put the system in place, which made it into a gamified, sick, sort of twisted game. And so by using the humans as punishment, and that's what the whole taboo system's about, is the taboo is basically the unleashing of the knowledge of what has happened, why the world is the way it is. And that's why it's kind of like it has that system in place. Once you hit it, it keeps reminding you and keeps saying in the back of your head, this voice keeps like shunning you, like, you know, shame, 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 but in different words. I just kind of think of like Game of Thrones kind of shame, ringing the bell kind of thing. So it makes sense. Now the question is, going into volume 15, is how are the other students going to respond to finding out the truth? Because the big hero boy himself has reached level 10 taboo. He's clearly found out the truth thanks to White and pushing him to get that skill up. And technically they've won, they've defeated the elves. And that's what I mean. The elves are defeated, Potamus is defeated, but there's still greater problems at play now. Now you've got to defeat the big god that is probably the big roadblock, but not the big one, which is D. So again, I want to be very clear there. I'm not referring to the Dragon Boy, Lover Boy would be a better way to put it, him as the big villain, but more as like the next big villain to defeat. Because Potamus was the first one, then you've got him, and D is just the one that's just playing a whole different game where I don't think you'll ever be able to defeat D. So really, really, really good volume. Honestly, I was really blown away by how fun and interesting this volume is, and I will definitely say the kind of the slow build-up did make it worth it because of all the crazy things going on, but there's still many pieces of the puzzle that are yet to be told in the next volume. And for me, it's going to be, how does the teacher respond, finding out that Potamus was using her, and he even was planning to like possess her, like with the soul. And it's just, yeah, he is not a pleasantly good person. He is very selfish, self-absorbed, but he makes a brilliant villain as well, because he used anything at his disposal. Like, he was using ridiculous amount of energy to make these machines to try and defeat all these people. So very much looking forward to it. I'd love to know your thoughts in the comment section down below. If you like this video, hit the like, subscribe, and I'll see you beautiful nerds in the next video.